You hear very frequently people say things like everyone's creative. It's like, that's wrong, okay? It's wrong. It's just as wrong as saying that everyone's extroverted. First of all, you have to be pretty damn smart to be creative, because otherwise you're just going to get to where other people have already got, and that's not creative by definition. So being fast and being out there at the front of things really makes a difference. And then you also have to have these divergent thinking capabilities, and that's part of your trait structure. And creative people are really different than non-creative people. Partly because, for example, they're highly motivated to do creative things and to experience novelty and to chase down aesthetic experiences and to attend movies and to read fiction and to go to museums and to enjoy poetry and to enjoy music that's not conventional music, for example. These aren't trivial differences. And so it's a real misstatement to make the proposition that everyone's creative. It's just simply not the case. It's a matter of wishful thinking. It's like saying that everyone's intelligent. It's like, well, if everyone's intelligent, then the term loses all of its meaning, because any term that you can apply to every member of a category has absolutely no meaning.
So, I am an innovator in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. I'm an independent tabletop role-playing game designer. Yeah, I made my own game from the ground up. And I've always been pushing for innovation in the hobby, because the couple times that innovation has been here and supported by the customer base, it has built the entire hobby. The hobby has lasted decades off the few things made in periods of time when innovation hit the hobby. So innovation is always, it's so necessary for the hobby. It's the lifeblood of the hobby. The hobby rides on the ideas that come from innovation. But innovation needs support from a customer base. It needs people to give you a chance. It needs all kinds of things to happen. And back when innovation happened, there was no internet, there was no live plays, there was no examples you can give. You had to do your pitch, do the best you could, say what you could, and then hope the customer base is going to give you a chance. Years later, most people that are innovators, there's so many things they don't understand, or they're not connected with a group that wants to do something live. There's so many different ways they can't present their ideas to you, though they could, like the guys back in the 80s, right? It's just that you won't accept it now. Back in the 80s, the reason the innovators were so amazing and made some of the most amazing things that you still play today, or whatever edition is out, is because, how can I say, back then they got the proper support. The customer base were desperate, right? There weren't many options. It's not like you were spoiled with options like you are today. And they were willing to give just about anybody a chance that was going to make a new game and, make even the slightest effort trying to get some new product out there. And so a lot of people that ended up failing because they just failed on their own, ironically got a lot of support, right? So some that got support flopped because they weren't ready to back it up. Though a bunch did get support, like Palladium, Vampire Games, all kinds of original new ideas. Innovation happened and was supported, only happened because it was supported, because just because you bring those ideas out, if the customer base is not going to support it, because they have so many layers, of things you got to do before they'll even do that, you're done. You're dead on arrival, and those games wouldn't have had multiple editions. So thanks to the customer at that time, that's what happened. Now the customer base in the hobby is so much more spoiled now that the decades following, they really refused en masse to support any innovation. It was like there's a period of time in the 70s when innovation, coming up with AD&D 1 and ideas, all being talked about and supported. In the 80s, real money put towards innovation, and then gone. And we have spent pretty much the entire time since standing on the backs of that innovation, right? But we have also harmed the hobby in so many different ways. I wanted to lead in with that because there's so many points I want to make. There's so many things harming the hobby that bother me. I would never tell you how you should approach the hobby, as far as I'm not trying to enforce my opinions on you. I'm not trying to erase from the hobby how you do things, right? I might not like what you do. I might say I don't like it, but I'll never be the one who's actively pushing what you do to the hobby as if it's something more harmful than just, I don't like it. And I bring that up because the creativity that the hobby requires to get to innovation, to find innovators, to discover who has it and who doesn't. That creativity, in my opinion, is something a big portion of the tabletop role-playing game hobby pushes back against. It doesn't help the hobby. It helps big companies like WotC. And here's how they do it. Here's a great example. Raw, rules as written. You'll see a lot of people out there that push rules as written. Right? Rules as written meaning you don't bring your own ideas. You just do what the game says. That's it. That's the way you run the game. I call that like the Walking Dead. Right? Because to me, I've never had an issue with starting off a game, running it raw, learning about it, even running it for a good period of time raw. But at one point, you know, I think it says a lot. Like, it's going to tell you if you're a creative. And after a certain point, you are not wanting to make changes. Right? Like, you're not even inspired to. You're not a creative. And guess what? A lot of the guys that really have influence in the hobby are not creative people. These are people that will play the same way for 40 or 50 years. Now, that's cool. That's the customer base. That's the people that play the game. But for us creatives, that's not enough. We play something for a year or two. We want to experiment. And we need the freedom to. And we need to make sure that the idea of that creativity, that approach, is never something where you try to put labels on it as something bad, or you try to paint that activity as something less, right? Like, oh, it's not as good as this, or any negativity you put towards that creativity, you're destroying the hobby. All innovation, all games, all ideas come from that creativity. And I do see innovators around, but I'm surprised there's not more, right? And these are innovators that still have not put their games out, right? But they want to, but they see how many layers between them and getting the game out. And then they see someone like me who's pretty much where they're at. I go and do it, and they see people try to crucify me. That's going to scare a lot of innovators who are going to pay attention to that and see that. That's not good. But you get a lot of these raw guys out there pushing back against the creative side. Like they'll say, "Oh, you're not playing D&D if you're doing this." I'm like, dude, what are you doing by saying that? Like, regardless that you're thinking it, what are you doing? What's the result of your words? You're degrading. You're trying to lower the idea of creativity. Like someone being creative with the game, well, that's not the real game. Yeah, but you're saying that person is somehow doing less, right? It's a lesser task. It's not like the real game. It's why even the need to say it. What debate are you having? What argument are you trying to win? Other than to try to make, oh, that guy's game is less important. It's not really D&D. I always thought that was some of the stupidest arguments I ever heard. The whole thing around raw and rules is written and people getting stickler to it and trying to degrade other people, which is what a lot of people do in the hobby. They get their way and then everyone else's way is shit. And they got to tell you about it, right? And imagine getting into the warp zone of you're into rules as written and somehow you're saying to the guys who did all the innovation and created everything, even the guys that created the fucking game that you're playing, had to have that creativity open to them, and you're trying to squash it. You're trying to say it doesn't belong. You're not even just giving your opinions. There are people out there actively pushing back against being creative. I'm like, well, you share the hobby with other people. You share the hobby with creatives. You can't make a world that, like a hobby, that's only for you. I mean, the people that made your fucking hobby are the creatives. You're coming in as just a fucking customer going, I can't create shit without copy and pasting stuff, right? All right, maybe you'll go make something for the OSR, right? You go do that, a third-party product for old school D&D. But I mean, you're coming in squashing the thing that made the entire hobby. I mean, think about it. Now there's barely any innovation, but people can get by making third-party products for old Dungeons and Dragons in current year. Like, that's amazing. There's such a lack of innovation that people feel there's not enough options out there, so you can make this content and it can sell. Because people are desperate for anything. They reach out for anything. I even said that was sort of the Pathfinder trick. Imagine, you're just getting third edition 3.5 with host rules. They put it into a book, and that's not even the way you think about it. You just want something different. It's like, this is different. It competes with D&D. Well, people figured it out right away. It's not really different. And so I found most people went back to their third edition original gaming with their own host rules after realizing Pathfinder is just sort of like an OSR game. In the sense of, it's a copy and paste of somebody else's engine, and then just with some host rules and some other layers thrown on top, and that's it, right? Innovation really requires creativity. And I gotta say, creativity in this hobby is squeezed dry. First off, you get the community pushing back against making changes to the game, playing games how you want. Like there's so many negative layers they put on that, trying to degrade that thing. Even trying to say, like, well, there's games out there that do everything. You don't need to create anything. Oh, okay, that's great. That's great that you want to kill creativity and that you assume everything is done. I would say you only see 20% because I've seen with my own fucking eyes innovation in front of me, not yet on the market. It's not mine. I wish people would put their shit out, but at the same time, I understand why they don't, because you got the customer base that doesn't support innovation. You got almost the entire community that will lean towards, yeah, rules is written. I'm like, okay, so basically it allows WotC to own the market. The fringe games that were coming out, they're no longer competing, and every year all the new games you hear about are just clones. It's just another version of D&D or another version of this other thing over here. I mean, and at one point when that money dries up, all those little copycats you see coming out earning awards or being in the top 10 every year, those top 10 will just start going away. As that market shrinks, the effort to make money on it will go with it. And it's happening. It's happening now. What do you do? At one point, WotC will just own the fucking hobby as far as new products and everything else so much. And they'll influence the people coming into the hobby so much that it will be overwhelming. And you'll be lingering on with some other products. Innovation is freedom. Innovation is the other 80% of ideas you haven't seen yet. Innovation is the lifeblood of the tabletop role-playing game hobby. And the idea that I have people that are not happy with me out there because I've been doing some videos, being pro-innovation, and calling things what they are. Like the OSR is third-party content for old-school D&D. If you copy and paste somebody else's engine, their gaming engine, and you just add on to it, that's just an extension of the old product. Think about it. You're not making a game. You're making an extension. In reality, you could even just bring out your book without the engine copied and pasted and just go, here's all the stuff. Go get the AD&D first edition book, apply all this stuff to it, and you have my OSR game. Right? I mean, but they'll conveniently copy and paste the engine text into the book and make the book bigger for you. Right? In reality, most OSR books shouldn't even bother copy and pasting the engine. Just maybe the little unique changes they might put to it, but it's still going to be just old school D&D. Why bother putting all those pages in? Why not just say, here's a book this big. Make sure you have AD&D first edition. Apply this to it, and you have my OSR game right there. Right? In my opinion, that's what they should do. Especially when you got certain games out there where even the ideas and the themes are just copy and paste it from either other people's art or history. I mean, at that point, you're just, all you're doing is copy and pasting things, putting something together, and people are willing to buy it. That's good on you. I'm not against you. But that's not game design. That's not innovation. And when we see what we're told is innovation, look at WotC with 5th edition. So we were told innovation was the advantage-disadvantage rule that was brought out for 5e, but I'm like, you mean the host rule that was around since the 70s? And when I went and checked it out just to make sure it was, yup, same host rule since the 70s. That's very popular in the old school. A lot of us use it, have been using it for years. I mean, it's common sense, right? WotC was like, Eureka, we found something new. No. All WotC did was find something they left behind. It wasn't innovation. It was something they left behind. And the person who brought it to them, I guess they just skipped some of the old school because they thought the idea was new. But like, yeah, I get how you get to it, but you missed the old school. And the reason I know you missed the old school is you thought that was a new idea that you were bringing to somebody. Right? It's like you could tell you just really weren't active for real in the old school. Because if you were, I mean, your common sense advantage disadvantage idea, you would realize we all had it and been using it since the 70s. And yeah, that's not innovation, my friends. OSR is not innovation. And it's just people making money. And there's nothing wrong with that. It keeps feeding you products. But, spoil customers. And I think people in the hobby pushing back in every possible way against creativity. Trying to lower it. Trying to degrade it in every way they can. Trying to say words that bring a negative sense to what someone's doing. Telling people everything's already created. What a horrible way to be in a hobby that's all about creativity. God damn. Think about it. I mean, you want to know what? If you're this simple-minded about gaming, maybe we should just turn it into a fucking video game. Right? Because you're basically saying, look at this amazing thing we can do, but here's, we're not going to bother exploring it anymore because we found everything. What an egotistic statement that is to think that the guys that have created stuff have created everything. No, they haven't. No, they haven't at all. And innovation only really happened for real in any serious sense in the late 80s. That's about the only time real innovation happened, and you haven't allowed it to happen since. So to assume everything is out there when you haven't allowed innovation to happen for like 40 fucking years, I mean, come on. Think about it. Innovation cut off for 40 years, and then you're going, we have everything covered. Really? This is what happens when the wrong people keep winning the argument, and in reality, they shut down the argument. They control the community, they control the dialogue, and they control what we say. Why does this happen? Why doesn't common sense seek into the community of people and get them to see, like, what is really happening? Why do you have people being warped against creativity when creativity is obviously the basis of the hobby? Right? I mean, it's delusional to be against it in any way. To even try to speak against it, it should always be promoted. It should always be favored. It should always be looked upon in a fond way. Everybody who's willing to take a D&D game or a Palladium game and make changes to the core rules, to experiment, try new things and everything else, they should be praised at least for the effort, to a degree. It's like, oh, I'm glad you're willing to try some new things. It's cool. And then if that idea works out, cool. But we're in a hobby that requires that, and we have the majority and people with influence speaking out against doing that. That's insanity, but that's what we have in today's tabletop role-playing game hobby. Innovation isn't just killed by the lack of customer support. It's literally people trying to kill people's creative efforts or even thoughts, or even kill the inspiration they have by saying, we don't need innovation. We have everything. And the things that would lead you to innovation and creativity, we want to degrade that, make you not want to do that, say that that's wrong. I mean, they'll support some house rules or something. Oh, here's some slight changes, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're the guys that killed TSR. You've really harmed the hobby over the years. And you've convinced a lot of people that this whole creative thing is just, it's not worth it. Innovation isn't required. We've already innovated everything. Just what a delusional way to think. Right? What a delusional way to think. Here's what happens. People have egos and they think, well, okay, there's nothing better than this. And it's like, you got to come along and show them that you're not who you think you are. And there are better people than you out there. People that will see the thing you say is impossible and then they'll do it. But you said it was impossible. I remember old school guys telling me, YouTubers, saying in streams and that, in reaction to me talking about pure theater of the mind, you can't do large combat in pure theater of the mind. I'm like, shit, I've done thousands of large D&D combat in pure theater of the mind, smoothly, perfectly, and fast without mistakes. Let alone I've done it once just to prove that statement wrong. I've done it a few thousand fucking times. And I'm being conservative because I ran a lot of fucking combat. It's a old second D&D guy, so I've ran a lot of combat, so it should be believable. I've been doing this since 1991 pretty consistently. Thousands. And I do pure theater of the mind. I don't do miniatures. So obviously, I'm going to have done this. And I got to tell you, I can run large combat from D&D in pure theater of the mind like breathing fucking air. That's how easy it is for me. Yet, there are old guys with huge egos that think because they can't do it, nobody can. I'm like, problem is you're just stupid and mediocre. You just don't realize it because you're socially unaware.